sure we got everything set up here. All right, what's going on, everybody? We are live here today. We got a very good topic. Got an awesome guest on the show today. Hopefully going to deliver some value, make sure that you guys leave with some better education and some knowledge that you might not have right now. So my name's Eric Matt. I'm the director of Substance Abuse Prevention Institute. And today I have my man, Eric Bishop, with me. And we are going to be talking about, does treatment really work? Right? So that's a hot topic with a lot of people. Not everybody has the right information. Some people have bad information. Some people have had different experience, but that's the topic for today. So thanks for tuning in with us. First off, Eric has been our remedial instructor and our counselor at the OVI program since before the OVI program even started. So we love Eric. I've known Eric for like 10 years. So Eric, tell us a little bit about yourself today.
All right. Well, I'm 62, and I struggled with addiction probably 22, 23 years of my life, and went to treatment finally after exhausting everything. And
how old were you when you first went to treatment?
I was 37.
37. And you're 62 now?
Yeah.
Many years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
what do you know now about treatment that you wish you would have known back then?
As far as what, like talking about denial, stuff
Yeah,
like that.
Yep.
I mean, I worked at a residential facility here in town for 17 years, and I was more or less the gatekeeper. I got clients in, and they would call, they would come by and see me and ask if any beds were available, and they were very desperate. I mean, they would cry, they would say they was going to camp out on their grams till we got a bed. And
whatever they can do, whatever we can do to get in.
Yeah, anything. And then I'd finally would have a bed available and able to get them in, and they were so grateful. And first couple of weeks they did great. I mean, they was eating right, going to bed, they was sleeping, getting every needs met. And then it seemed like after a couple of weeks, they wanted to start running a show again.
Right.
And they forgot about 2 weeks ago how desperate they were.
Yep.
And they just didn't really take a lot of suggestions that was offered to them.
Right. So if you had to take a ballpark guess, how many people do you think that you've worked with on a professional level in treatment throughout your career?
Oh, God. I don't know. I know we probably got over maybe 300 clients in a year.
300 a year?
Yeah, that's probably over that. So times 17 years. So
a lot of years.
Yeah, a lot of clients. So, it was something that I really enjoyed doing. I just wanted to help and not have that have that man go down the same road I went to.
Right.
See if I could stop that process.
So once you got into recovery, what made you want to become a counselor? What made you want to work at a treatment center? Where'd that passion come from?
Just wanting to help people. I truly believe the man upstairs saved my life, and I just felt that was my calling, like it was in my blood. And I would do anything to help anybody came through treatment, anything. I just didn't want to see them go down the road and jails, institutions, and death. Yep. And I've been to enough funerals, people leaving treatment, and I just wanted to stop that process.
All right. So the first time that you went to treatment at 37 years old, how old were you when you actually first became a counselor and started working at the treatment center?
It was about 18 months after that.
Wow, so not very long after.
No,
okay.
No. I knew that's what I wanted to do after I left. After I left treatment, I talked to my counselor my last day in treatment. Back then it was 90 days. I think I was there for 69 days of it. But I told him I wanted to come back and work, and he gave me some little bit of advice, and I took the ball and ran with it.
Been working ever since.
Yeah.
Good deal. So, all right. So today, what we really want to talk about is the top 3 reasons that most people struggle early off in their treatment process. I didn't want to say fail, even though I think that the top 3 reasons people fail might sound a little bit better, but throughout my experience, and I'm sure with your experience, I've seen hundreds of reasons people fail. Mm-hmm. And I think it's safe to say that they all kind of categorize into a few different categories. And the first one we chose to talk about today was denial, right? And I know from my own personal experience my first time going to treatment, well, actually, I was 15 or 16, but my first time going to adult inpatient treatment, I was 20 years old. And at the time, of course, I had a heroin addiction. As you know, my first day in treatment, you were right there. You greeted me at the door. You know, that's one of them. It's just a moment that I look back on that I'll never forget. You know, and here we are all these years later,
Right.
been through so much together. It's just awesome. But I know for me, when I went into treatment that first time, I wanted the medication, right? And I wanted that medication in a prescription to go, right? I wanted to go home with it. I thought that I had a heroin problem. And I thought that I just needed to stop using heroin. And I thought that I could still smoke weed, that I could still drink, and I could still take pills. And I genuinely believed that I thought I could do that. But the denial that I can identify with early on was thinking that I could stop using one particular thing and continue using other things. You care to share a little bit of experience on that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot of guys come in there and they don't think, and alcohol's not in their story,
Right.
but they think when they leave treatment they can drink.
Yeah.
And in a matter of days after they start drinking, they go back to what they were doing in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's just the crazy things we tell ourselves, and you know, it's just not the way to make recovery work, doing it that way.
You talked a little bit about how folks will come into treatment desperate when they get in the door,
Right.
but then over time, maybe a couple weeks in or maybe upon release, they forget where they came from. Do you think that's denial, or could we call that something else? What do you think?
I don't know. I think it's denial.
Yeah.
I think they go back to denial. A lot of them really truly think that when they get rid of the drugs, everything is fine and they don't have any more problems.
Mm-hmm.
But drugs is a major problem in our lives. But all of the problems ourselves.
Absolutely.
So it's about working on ourselves, and if drugs and alcohol was the answer, what the heck was the question?
Yeah. Yep.
So
Yeah, denial really runs so deep. It can take form in so many different levels depending on where you're at in your recovery. You know, somebody with years clean might think, well, maybe I don't need to go to as many meetings as I did when I first got clean. Or maybe I don't have to call my sponsor as often I did when I got clean. But yes, denial in the beginning, we see many forms of denial, and one of those is that we think that we can rationalize, use this and not that, or maybe we can do this form of treatment but not that form of treatment. We want to tell the counselor how to treat us. I don't want to go 3 days a week. I just want to come once a week. I can do this by myself.
right, they try to run their own treatment program.
Yeah. Lots of layers of denial. But I think that with addiction, one thing over time that the disease will do is it will strip those layers of denial from you. And I know for me, when I genuinely thought that I could just smoke weed, or I could drink or take pills or something like that and just not use any dope, that layer of denial was stripped away after I figured out that I couldn't do that.
Right.
I couldn't do it on my own. Yeah.
Yeah, I developed denial. I got clean, and like I said, about 18 months later, I was working at this treatment facility, and I worked there. I was clean for 7 years and 10 months, and I went back out and I relapsed. And that denial part, that complacency, that I didn't have to go to meetings, I didn't have to call my sponsor, I didn't have to call my sponsees back. I wasn't doing anything recovery oriented at all. I got too cocky because I had everything. I had a Cadillac, I had the clothes, the gold, and all that stuff, man. So and I was doing feeding. I wasn't feeding the inside. I was just feeding the outside.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So maybe you have some experience with that. Definitely chime in below if you think that denial has been a big struggle for you early on in recovery, or maybe you have some experience, or maybe you're witnessing somebody struggle with denial right now. So Eric, let me ask you this, and I know this is kind of off script here, but let's say that there's a loved one out here, right? And they have a loved one who's struggling with their drug or alcohol use, and they know they're in denial. What can somebody do to help someone see the denial or understand it, or maybe look at it from a different point of view? Is there anything that somebody can do to say, hey, you got a real problem here, maybe you need to get some help?
Yeah, I mean, let's sit them down and talk to them, and just practice tough love.
Yeah.
I mean,
tough love, what's that look like?
Don't give them any money, don't enable them in any way.
Yep. agree.
Because they got to hit their bottom. You're not hitting your bottom. They're not going to hit their bottom if you enable them.
Yep, I agree 100%. So number two, the second reason we think that people fail early on in their recovery, now again, there's many different ways people can fail or that they can struggle early on, but I think that number two is building support and having healthy relationships and building new influences in their life. Eric, share a little bit with us about building support in early recovery.
Oh, when I first got clean, there was only 3 NA meetings, and the counselor and the people that worked there, the techs, a guy named Eric P. later became my sponsor, but he told me, grab a tablet and a pen and get some people's number that's got experience, strength, and hope, and it's got some clean time. So, and that's what I did. I started building up a support network. They didn't have anybody clean long enough in an NA program for me to get a sponsor, so I had to get another sponsor from the other fellowship. And I talked to him. He said, you need to call me every day, and I did that for a whole year. Called him every day, even when I hated to call him every day, but I did because I didn't want to go back out again. I was
do
too
what it
much
takes.
fear of that.
So during that time, right? So you probably had old friends, old people, old places that you associated with, right? So tell us a little bit about what was the struggle like to not only disassociate yourself with your old relationships, but at the same time be building new ones. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of good friends that weren't alcoholics or addicts, but they wouldn't mind maybe drinking a beer every now and then. And I still had to cut them out because I just couldn't take them drinking in front of me. Excuse me. And that was awful hard because I really cared about these guys. But I knew my life was on the line. And then meeting people in the fellowship that took me under their wing, and I started creating new relationships.
Yep.
Real grateful for all the people in the other fellowship to guide me in the direction that I was guided in.
Yeah, I think that, early on, I remember like when I got clean, I was 22, and the first time I really tried to get clean, I was 21. So back then I thought, this is life. This is what we do. We use and we just party and get high all the time. And I couldn't even imagine a life without drugs.
Right.
And I think the fact that getting into treatment for me was great, but treatment just consists of 11 other guys who were just as messed up as I was. That was treatment, and that still is treatment today. And I think that, getting plugged into the fellowship, whatever fellowship that is, wherever fellowship that may be, and actually building relationships with people who have been through what I'm currently going through and know what it takes to succeed at life are the people that I really gravitated towards.
Right.
And I know we try not to put people on pedestals, but like for somebody with 30 days clean and they meet somebody with 6 months clean, it's like, oh my God, how did you do that? How did you stay clean for 6 months? I remember the first time I saw somebody get a 6-month key tag, and I thought, it just blew my mind. I thought, he's lying. Mm-hmm. There's no way he's been clean for 6 months. And come to find out, meeting with him and talking to him, like he was really staying clean, and like, that's the type of support right there that we're talking about. It's getting clean or going to treatment or trying to not use drugs is so hard to do on your own. I hesitate. I don't say it's impossible because I've seen it done. I've seen people do it before, but I think that building the right support is really one of the keys to help you implant those seeds in your mind that it's actually possible. So I think of the 3 we're talking about today, number 2 is my favorite, building support.
Yeah, I mean, the unconditional love that you get, and usually out on the streets, you do something for somebody, you expect something, but in the fellowship, it's not like that at all. I mean, they really show you unconditional love.
Yep.
And that's what kept me coming back.
Let me ask you this, Eric. What would you say to somebody who says, hey, guys, I've been to meetings before. I had a sponsor before. He was a piece of crap. He never called me back. He didn't do this. He lied to me. He slept with my girlfriend. He did everything that sponsors aren't supposed to do. I don't believe in that anymore. What would you say to that guy?
I'd say, yeah, you get to a meeting, get you another sponsor. I mean, I know it's proven. It's proven because when I relapsed, I stopped going to meetings. I stopped my praying. And spirituality has a very big part in my life. And when I stopped all that, I ended up using. So if somebody had a bad experience, they need to open their mind and and take a look at themselves and see how much they contributed to that bad experience.
Absolutely, I agree 100%. And you know, one thing I would share with folks, if that's your experience, or maybe you've been through that before, is I know when we were out on the streets, or we were getting our drugs, or we were, you know, going and copping or getting whatever we were getting, you know, and if someone ripped me off, I was right on to the next one. You know, yeah. I was like, oh, that sucks. I got ripped off again. Let me just see who's got it again. Where can I go now? You know, and it's like, but on, you know, once we try to get clean and our little feelings start to come back and stuff like that, our feelings get hurt so fast. But I just know that building the right relationships and building a good support group is essential throughout any stage of treatment or recovery, life in general. You know, how worthless would life be if we just did everything we did on a daily basis all alone all the time?
I wouldn't have got where I'm today if it wasn't for other people helping me out.
Absolutely not. And I know that, you know, I love when people reach out and say, Eric, I want, you know, can I have your phone number? Can I call you? Can I talk with you? Will you sponsor me? Can you help me out? And my answer is always, yes, here's my number. Call me, text me, Facebook message me, do whatever you got to do to get hold of me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I tell them, I said, look, I've got a lot of stuff going on. So if I don't answer, call me again, message me again, text me back, stop by my house, knock on my door, do what it takes to get a hold of me, because I know the value of building relationships and helping other people and just giving somebody that seed of hope, just like that dude with 6 months clean did for me early on.
Right. Man. Me too. Yeah, that's the main thing.
That's good stuff.
Giving somebody a spark of hope. So, I mean, that's what kept me coming. I went to my first meeting. I went in my first meeting, and I felt like crap. And when I left, I felt so good. And I didn't know what it was. And I come to find out later, after through step work and stuff, it was hope. Absolutely. I got hope in my first meeting.
Absolutely, man. And
I just didn't know what to call it.
Yep. You know, my first meeting was in the Clark County Jail. Bill, Andre, H&I folks came in and gave me that meeting, man, gave me the hope. And I share all the time. The only thing I remember from that meeting is 1 is too many and 1,000 is never enough. I'm like, that really sunk in with me that night right there, man. So it was good stuff. So moving on here, number 3, and this is the third reason that we think that people struggle early on in treatment, and we think that it is because that recovery and treatment is an inside job, right? And I know that for me, when I first got clean, all I really wanted to do was, like, you know, just not be dope sick anymore.
Right.
And then from there it was, well, I'd like to get a job to support myself and buy my own cigarettes and buy my own clothes and, you know, do the things that other people were doing. And, you know, once I first got the job, like, I remember every time I got paid, like, I want to go to the mall. I want to go buy some new clothes. I want to get some new shoes. And at the same time, right, was still really messed up on the inside from all the things that I had put myself through and all the things that I've done and all the guilt and shame that I carried with me early on. And I see that in guys and girls early on. And we know that all that is in there, right? And a lot of people know at some point all that stuff has to come out. You know, and to find the true freedom that you're looking for, it has to come out. Talk to us a little bit about how recovery and treatment, and that this is an inside job. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. There's a reason what I did, and it's about me uncovering everything, and really step work. Step work's the thing that got everything out, and I mean, it just helped me so much working my first step and seeing how I was so powerless and how I was so unmanageable in my life. And then with the second step and how getting God in there and coming to believe and yeah, I mean, it's you just gotta work on your inside. Cause I tried, you know, like I said, I tried to close the gold and all that, and that was just a temporary fix. You know, I had to dig deep and get all that garbage I was carrying around.
Yep. You know, one of my favorite quotes in just life in general, it's not really a recovery quote, but one of my favorite quotes is "Follow your heart." You know, and it's very basic, very simple, but I think that a lot of times, especially for somebody who's early in treatment or early in their recovery, they get clean and they see all these people and they're doing all these things that that we've always dreamed of. Like, they got jobs and cars and families and stuff like that. And they think, oh man, I just want a car and a job and a family so bad. And they chase all these things, right? And I chase all these things and chase all this stuff. and at the same time neglect that little voice that's inside of me that's telling me,
Right.
Eric, you really belong doing this, or Eric, you really like doing that. That's what brings you or that's what fulfillment comes from, and that's where that real true happiness is right there.
I see a lot of guys that would leave treatment and hurry up and get a job and work all the overtime that they can, trying to replace everything that they've taken and sold or whatever, and not really go to meetings and start working on themselves. They just think a job is going to do the trick for them, but it's not.
Yeah.
Right after a month getting paychecks, they don't have any tools at all, so they take their paycheck and spend it all on dope.
Right, man. It's a rough place to be in, man, because I think that this is the world that we live in today is so focused on the external, right? What's the outside look like? What do what all this stuff on the outside, but I don't think that, especially early on for somebody who is just entering treatment and has all that crap that we've put ourselves through, that it's just like the sad part is that when we first get clean, it don't matter where we get a job, what kind of car we got, where we live at, or anything like that. If all that stuff that we put ourselves through is still messing with us, right? It'll completely rob us of all the benefits of our treatment and our recovery process.
Right.
So let me ask you this, Eric. And I've heard a lot of guys say this before. They say, well, I had a sponsor one time and I told him all this stuff, or I had this counselor and I told him all this stuff, and 15 minutes later, everybody else knew about it. They didn't keep anything secret. They broke my anonymity. They broke my confidentiality. I'm not ever doing that stuff again. What would you say to somebody that has maybe had a bad experience early in treatment or early with the sponsorship journey? What would you say?
I just tell them to keep coming back and take that leap of faith again and find somebody that you can truly trust, in a sponsor.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's unfortunate. Stuff like that does happen. And, it drives me crazy when I hear it. But, they just try to get and take that leap of faith.
Absolutely, man, no matter what. So that kind of, with those are just three things that we really truly, I mean, we could talk on this. We could write a book on this right here.
Oh, yeah.
We could talk about this stuff all day long.
Spiritual aspect of it and all that stuff.
So, and I know that like I said before, there's tons of reasons that people struggle and why people, just can't seem to grasp treatment or recovery early on. And, we broke down these three right here, but to kind of the flip side of that and to talk a little bit about what we think is the secret sauce of treatment or the secret sauce of recovery, I believe is sponsorship.
Yeah. It says in the basic text that sponsorship's the heartbeat of the program. So sponsorship is very important, very important. Because when I relapsed, I stopped all my sponsor contact. Today that, I've definitely learned from my mistakes. I got over 11 years clean today,
Awesome,
about 11
man.
and a half.
Good deal.
And I'm in contact with my sponsor, and we work steps. So sponsorship is really vital. I mean, if you don't have a sponsor, you got to fool for your sponsor. Sponsor yourself.
Yes, you do. That's absolutely right. And I know that everybody has different experience with sponsorship. Some are positive, some are negative. And, when I first got clean, my sponsor was on fire, and that was the man. When I saw him and heard him share and watched what he did and saw how he lived, I was like, that's what I want in my life right there.
Yeah.
And he sponsored me for and I remember my first, I would talk to him every single day. 8:30 in the morning, we'd have a phone call every day. He was on his way to work and I was leaving out as well. And we would talk, and I would, it seemed like, my perception of sponsorship early on was every time I talked with my sponsor, I was talking about my step work, and I was talking about what question I was on and applying it to my life, right? And that's kind of what we talked about. And he would talk about his, this is what I'm doing, this is where I'm at in my step work, and this is what, recovery looks like for me. And then when the table was turned and then I started sponsoring people, everyone's calling me with all these problems all the time. I'm like, they're like, oh, I can't do this, or I'm tripping. And it seems like everybody would only call in crisis. But my experience was like, man, I had this good, true bond with this sponsor that I talked to on a daily basis. That's what everybody should sponsor, right? And I was like, and that was my own unique experience. And what I've learned is that I was really blessed, first and foremost, with that sponsor that I had and the relationship that I had built with them. And I also learned what not only a challenge, but a reward it was to sponsor somebody else too.
Right.
To actually see somebody get clean and to start on a new way of life and not believe in anything. And then throughout the course of years, watch them grow into, you know, husbands and fathers and like productive, good people, you know, who have like values and belief systems. Like, man, like that's where it's at right there.
Yeah, it's
That's
just
where it's at.
It's beautiful to see somebody the first day getting clean, and person I'm thinking about has got 6 years clean today, and it's just remarkable. It's just
Good
remarkable
stuff.
what recovery done for him.
Good stuff, man. So that's it, man. I think that we've been on 25 minutes, so I think that we can wrap it up here, Eric. I
All right.
definitely
Sounds good.
thank you for coming on, man. I know we've been
Appreciate
talking
you asking
about
me.
this for a little while. We're still going through the learning process of trying to set this live video podcast up. So we're going to keep this on our Facebook page and our YouTube page. And if you watch this and if you have a question, you know, definitely comment below, send us a message, reach out to us. We would love to answer your question and do anything that we can to provide value to you, to talk about treatment, recovery issues. You already know we offer in our opinion, the best driver intervention program in Ohio, but we're a little biased with that.
Yeah.
We love what we do. We're actually off
No,
this
we're not.
weekend.
We're not biased. We're the best.
There you go. We're off this weekend, so we are doing some things to kind of regroup and refocus and try to get ready and just figure out how we can help more people. So thanks again for watching, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Done.
See you later.